Well, hello. I'm fishing for brushes at the moment, which is why you're not seeing me properly. Check. Right. So this is the picture that we started last week, discovering that we can put a color on over quite a large area. And by adding color on top of that, we make the picture more integrated. And we can work on top of it as much as we need, but a little bit it will show through and give that coherence to the picture, which I think is an important part of the picture looking like it's a professional. Always good to kid the troops if you can. Right. So I think the first thing to do is to get rid of this great white patch here, because that is confusing me about the tonal value of the rest of the place. So, and I think we used ultramarine. So ultramarine is there. And I used that one. I don't need any more of that. And I did use a proper green. In fact, I used two because I used Viridian as well. And a bit of orange, as I remember it. So what I have done is drop a bit of water on top of the paints that I am likely to use, because that helps soften the paint, and you get the paint off it more quickly by doing it that way. Right, so what I'm going to do is use not that one, this one, the biggest square brush I can find, drive the bubbles out. And I've then taken the excess water off. I'm going to wet all the water with just with water. I'm going to wet the water with water. Aren't I clever? It really helps, you know. Trust me, it makes sense if you know what I'm doing. Je peins l'eau avec l'eau. And while I'm at it, I'm going to put some water on that bit there. Now, this is very much brighter than the rest of it. But if I put a little bit of water on there, it just dulls the brightness of the white. So where you do want a really screaming contrast, but you do want the white paint, the white paper, if you put a bit of water on it, it just takes the edge off the brightness. Right, now I'm not going to use that one again, I don't think. Although I could. Yes, I could. I can use it to do put the paint in. There's a difference between round brushes and flat brushes. The flat brushes tend to hold less water than the round ones, but you get a shape more quickly. Anyway, I'm going to go over this and this bit here because it is sort of greenery, yellowy. Because I put the water on, can you see that is running down the edge? It's not running this way. The water that I put on has created a meniscus, if you like. And what that does is remove the inclination to just row vertically down the page. Let's get that straight. And I'm trying very hard not to go on top of what I have already done. I'm trying not to work in there. I'm just trying to let the paint do its thing. and looking at it, I'm going to use the paint a little bit more strongly here. It is quite much darker there. While it's wet, helps. And there's a touch under here, but I don't want to. Perhaps don't need to do that bit actually, because I can do it when I do the edge. There we are. That's so it's pooling nicely, it's running nicely. While it's wet, I'm going to go back in, clean the brush, dry the brush, pick up water to do your new color. I'm going to add a bit more yellow to this bit here. This is, sorry. Just to suggest the reflection while I've got the chance. I think that'll do. Now what I can do is if I dry the brush, I can pick up this so that it doesn't, because I don't really want a black line there. Just pick it up with a dry brush. Okay, I think that's reasonable. Now let's see what we can do to make a bit more coherence with the rest of the picture. When you got it this far, you've got the picture there. What you're doing now is creating the effects that you want. So if I take, I've got sap green here. If I add it to the blue, it's still a bit of a violent color. I'll show you. I'll just put it up here. It's still a bit violent as a color. If I put the merest touch of red, I've just got to show the brush where the red is. It's there, you know, hardly touch it sort of thing. And just add a little bit of red to the mix. So I'm not turning it red. I'm just killing it a little bit so that it's not quite so. Now then, let's see if we can make a bit of sense of this. This is one tree here. So let's. Some of it comes over, some of it doesn't. So it hides basically this tree here. So this tree at the front is going to be a bit more sort of on top of that one, which I think is allowable. And if I add a bit more blue to that, making an even darker blue, where's the light coming from? It's hard to say really. I think we've got shadows here, so this will be in shadow. Yeah. See what a nice edge you can get from a square brush. Oh, I don't want that to be too. I don't want a line off the edge of the picture if I can avoid it. Well, this one will be casting a shadow. So we're saying that tree is casting a shadow there. This one will cast a bit of a shadow too. And there'll be a much bigger shadow here. That one will go off over there. So beginning to get a bit of, I don't want to be too strong because it wasn't a sunny day as such. So I'll just soften the edge. Be better off with a bit of the smaller brush. So I just run a touch of water along the edge there so that it blurs a bit. Let gravity take its course. I think we could even make all of that. Right. So if I now look to the trees, see what I can do with the tree trunks. Since I've used raw sienna, I can use burnt sienna, wherever they have. Where the heck? That's that one. I think I'm going to need a bigger brush to make the mix because otherwise we'll be here forever. The discipline's good at the beginning. By the end, I'll lose the track and get 3 dirty pots again. So I'm mixing burnt sienna, which is a bright orangey color. And I'm going to put into it a little of the ultramarine. That's too much. And I need quite a lot of pigment because I want to work quite carefully, if you like. I want distinct shapes. And if it's too runny, it'll just run and not give me what I want. Right, so let's I don't think that's dark enough, actually. I think I've told you before, if you mix your paint in a pan and it drains away, the color, not the big pool at the bottom, but the color higher up is the actual tone that you've got. That's more like. And remember when you're doing tree trunks that the shadow goes all the way up. The canopy throws the top of the trunk in shadow. It's only as you come lower down that you begin to get light on the lit side of a then when we get to this one, we've got quite a. These trees, I don't know what they are. They're massive trees, but they've been pulled and cut and bashed about and all the other things that happen to trees in a town, you know. So you'll find again, this part will all be in shade here because it's some of this will be in shade. That we don't have to have any real reason to. We can get even darker there. So if I pick up the neat blue and put it down here while the paint is wet. make that line too straight, it doesn't echo the tree is actually quite interesting. So, you know, let's make it interesting if we can. And I think I'm going to cheer up the color on this side a bit. I'll take some neat burnt sienna. See if we can make this a bit brighter, a bit kinder. Better, isn't it? I don't know if you can see the difference, but I can feel the difference. It's my picture. Right. Yeah. Now, they're beginning to be a bit more believable, I think. So let's see what we can do with the foliage, because what happens is that the underside of the tree is also darker. If you can, in effect, join the underside of the tree. I very often paint the tree trunk, top of the tree trunk, and the underlying branches, you know, the underside of the canopy, in the same color. Branches throw out sort of clouds of leaves, if you like. So it just right. Now I want to do the same thing a little bit further back to these here. Make them a little bit darker, but I don't want them to be as dark as that if I can. If you move the brush quickly, it hits and doesn't hit, so you get a sort of a bit of an idea of the open leaves, you know, appearing. Come down, you. That is quite deliberate there. But I want to cut that line running across the picture, if at all possible. These trees give the ideal place to do it. If the line goes straight across, you tend to go, zhoosh, and your eye goes straight out the picture. So that what you do then is walk away because you've seen it, so it's not important anymore. Right, now we've got, oh, there's that one, isn't there? Big Daddy. I think he's actually two trees. I don't know if I'm going to go that far. Right, okay, now we can't see his trunk. I don't want to make him too dark. This side of the tree is going to be darker. Whatever works. Now that is very definitely a straight line because it's behind the bridge and it comes down here underneath the bridge too. Sorry, so that little bit just helps to say that this tree is behind this bridge so that it reads better. Right, we're getting a bit of life over this side of the picture now. Now then, oh, that's a lovely colour, isn't it? If we take the little brush And I used ultramarine violet for some of the color, didn't I? So I can certainly adopt that. Mix it with a bit of burnt sienna. So I've got ultramarine violet and burnt sienna. And I want to come round here to create this bank, because this bank is in shadow. The light's coming this way, so this bank is in shadow. With a little brush, I've got marginally more control over what I'm doing. It won't be a straight line. There's grass growing there, you know. They might have put stones to edge the canal. But it won't be straight. Then I'm going to run a line of water. This is pure water underneath that. It's dried too quickly. Isn't it strange when you want it to dry, it sits there suddenly and doesn't do it. When you don't want it to dry, it does. Right. Needs to be darker. Darker means more pigment, less water. Plenty of water on the page, so. Come on, you. Cooperate. Now I put the touch of water there to help break that bottom line where it meets the water, so that there is the suggestion of reflection. I want here. Let you reflect. Sorry, just trying to cut the strong line so that it doesn't create. So that's beginning to work a bit. I think while we're at it, and I've got the green here, I'll put in the rest of this. Because it helps to. I don't think I can. There's just a touch of real dark there. Do something. I'm not quite sure what's going on over there. I think there's a bus in the way or something, so I'll get to that in a later. So we need now to put a bit of characterization into this grassy area, which is basically a dead ball because it's just a grassy bank. So I need a bigger brush for that, won't I? What am I going to do? Well, the light is catching it. There is nothing there to help me. So I've used my sap green, which is it's not a sin to use green, just to give me a bit more shape here. And again, I'm not going over the whole area. just keeping most of the attention on this area here, because this is where the the focus is here, isn't it? I think that I could probably. How you done that to the right angle? I might need some of the dark. Make this a little bit wider as we come nearer. Better, I think. Right. Those houses are a bit weird. So is the sky behind it. So what am I going to do about that? Well, something, obviously. Can't leave it. So I'll take the small brush again. Oh, golly, not going to be enough time to finish as usual. However, dark was what I wanted, wasn't it? Doesn't matter if it's dirty water for this. We do have here, I don't want to make it too dark. This one, I still. Now, I'll finish one job first. Right, I can see that shape there. I'll probably cut the picture off there anyway. So. However, give yourself the option, you can manage it. I think I need to make that one stand out a bit more, so I'm going to paint. Got a rag somewhere. I'm just going to take the top coat off. I don't want it to be too. It's just enough to save us, there's something here, if you like. Bring that down there. I suggest you find that. There's always things on top of roofs, isn't there? I might even. How about putting a bit of tree there? That might be an idea, mightn't it? Just to. There isn't, but I feel I need a tree. Oh, there we are. See? Might even bring that one down. As the bridge goes there. Put a bit of something to do with that. Right, we'll put a few buildings there, shall we? He is up there, so what could be down here? Is that the upper story of a building? Ah, there we are. So we could have a building here, another window, and that goes that way. There's a little touch of road here. There is a road there, actually. Buses and trains. Could even put a bus there if I could get round to drawing one. That would do. And I think that there needs a bit more differentiation. I'm not really looking at that anymore. I'm looking at this because this is what is informing the picture, if you like. The light is coming this way, so actually it would penetrate. Penetrate better there. As you get further into the bridge, it would get darker and darker. So this needs to be really dark here. By graduating this edge, I'm suggesting the light is coming into the tunnel, bridge, whatever you want to call it. And push that back a bit. Just going to put a light. Light. I want it to be. I want to kill it a bit. If this edge needs attention, I'm not going to get to that today, but I could give you some indication here. So we've got stones here, probably about that big. I'm not going to put them all in. I'm not going to draw every one. And as they go further away, remember that they will look as if they're getting closer and closer together. Just a few horizontal marks there to suggest you've got a path. Remember to make them horizontal to the edge of the paper. Don't make them come at an angle to the diagonal line, because you'll just have disaster. Sorry. Yeah. I've got not enough time to do everything. But that's beginning to characterize that now, as I suggested. So, and of course, as they get nearer, they'll get wider too, because the nearer you see more of them. And they'll be bigger and wider as you come down. And we need to do something about the edge of the path there. This edge of the path. Some of the autumn leaves have still on the ground a bit. It was like autumn was coming, actually. It was October. And again, I'm just making this just a little bit wavy, you know, so that I can do it with the green as well. gives you some idea. So this attention to detail is what gives the picture its magic, if you like, if you get as far as producing magic, which you don't always, but you know, sometimes it gets there. That's coming along quite nicely. Then you can start to put grass tufts in here, all kinds of things if you want to really get carried away. Depends on how much of it you're going to